well. Stephanie, could you help us with the recording too? Is that possible?
Sure. What?
Okay, just in case.
But like, would you like me to be the co-host or like?
No, just the recording, if that's possible. Can you do that without being the host?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh no, I need your permission.
I will give you my permission.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
There we
Hello,
go.
Manuelito. Hello, Frances. Hello, Claudia. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's talk. We're very excited about today's presentation. I'm going to introduce you to Miss Miriam Seed. She's the head of our English teaching training program at USACH. And she's going to be in charge of introducing our speaker today. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and enjoy.
Hello, good evening to everyone, and especially Jen. Good evening, Jen. I'm sure this is not evening for you, but still it is for us. All right, so let me introduce Jen Elbek today. In what is our fourth meeting of the Teachers Center. This is an activity that we have been carrying out because we need to exchange our experiences, and we need to hear what other people in other latitudes are doing, particularly in this special period that we are all undergoing. I mean, it is not easy to teach. It has not been easy to teach children, adults, or of any kind because of this situation that we have been undergoing. So we feel very, very, very flattered and very honored to have here different people who have come to share their own experiences with us and with us as Chilean teachers and acting teachers and future teachers as well. So today it is the turn to receive John Elbek, who is a PhD candidate at Washington University. She is a specialist on teaching children, and she is doing her PhD on language literacy and technology. That is, it is a very, very appropriate type of topic to discuss, particularly today. So Jen is a teacher. She has been teaching children, and she is now working at Okinawa. Right? I get a little bit confused with all these names, strange names. So I'm sorry, forgive me. All right, my apologies. So she holds an MA degree on TESOL education. So she is a specialist on teaching. And for that, we are very, very honored to have her here today. And without further ado, Jen, the floor is all yours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. It's really nice to be here, and I feel honored to be here. So thank you for having me. Yeah, so let me just jump right into it, I guess. So the first thing I want to do is start off with a little presentation, and then I'll show you how to make an escape room, a digital escape room, and then we'll go to questions. And I'm sure there will be a lot of questions because it's a lot of material. So yeah, so let's get started. Thank you very much. And I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so Digital Escape Room by me, Jen Elbek. Just a quick introduction of myself. This is who I am. I have the MA in TESOL. I'm a PhD student at WSU in language literacy and technology. I live in Mount Vernon, Washington, which is north of Seattle, if you know where Seattle is. So that's where I'm living now. And I love hiking. That's one of my favorite things to do. And this is my family. This is
Have
my
your
husband.
cats?
Yes, I have 2 cats and I have 6 chickens. And yeah, this is our little family. So yeah, so that's me. And yeah, so let's talk about escape rooms then. So I apologize if there's a lag. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to show you actually a recruitment video. And so you get kind of an idea of what the escape room is about. And this recruitment video is what I used with students that I was trying to get to participate in my digital escape room, because it was actually for a research, like for a study. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that recruitment video. Let me fix the sound. There we go.
I think you have to activate sharing sound.
Yep, I just did that. All right, let me know if you can't hear it.
Welcome. I invite you to try out our educational escape room and help make a positive contribution to our research. Gather a team of 3 to 4 players, take on character roles, and get lost in a story within a 360-degree environment. Explore the room with your colleagues. Move the image with your mouse or touchpad. Click on items in the room to get a better look. And discover puzzles to solve to move you along to victory. But you better escape before the time runs out, or you'll be trapped in there forever. Just kidding. So grab your classmates and sign up through the email your instructor gives you, with the link to Sign Up Genius.
Okay, so you kind of get the idea. This was just saying how the students could sign up for the room. There were different time slots for it. But I'm going to go ahead now and show you that example room that was in that video, and kind of give you an idea of what it looks like inside. And then I'll launch in and talk to what an escape room is, and specifically what a digital escape room is, and then how to make it. So here's the example room that we just saw in the video. So it has a description. It says, there are 4 puzzles and 5 locks in this hotel room. Solve the puzzles to open the locks. Collect the letters to retrieve the answer to the final puzzle and escape the room. Explore the room by hovering your mouse over areas of interest. Okay, so in this room, and this one is essentially, you just click on various things and puzzles will come up, and then you solve the puzzles. Sorry, it's a little slow right now. And once you solve the puzzle, it gives you a code. And then you use that code to open a lock. I believe there's a lock here. Well, you have to look around to find things. So like if you see the little hand, if it glides over something you can click on, it turns to a pointer finger, right? So that means you can click on it. So I believe there's a code here, or a lock here, and this is where you would enter in one of the codes from solving one of the puzzles. And then once that unlocks, it gives you part of the final code needed to escape the room. And how you escape the room is just by unlocking this door here. And this is the final lock. And then you'd enter the code for the final lock and then escape the room. So this was an escape room that I had made for a class as an assignment, but it never got used, unfortunately, because it would have taken too long for class. But let me show you some other examples because there are ones that are way more exciting than this. So let's close out of that. I'll actually show you the room that we're using for research. This is an actual classroom that we took a 360 photo of and uploaded that photo and then created puzzles and interesting items you can click on. You can see there's a countdown timer here. It gives you a certain amount of time, and once that time is up, if you haven't escaped the room by that time, then you lose. So you have to escape the room by that time to win. So anyways, there are lots of things you can click on, but not everything is important to solving the puzzle. So like this right here, for example, is just a picture. But I think this one, oh yeah, this was just for fun. If I remember correctly, yeah, this one's a puzzle though. So this room is based on phonemic awareness. So in this puzzle, it says a consonant blend is when two or more consonants are put together, but each phoneme is still heard individually in the blend. However, consonant digraphs are two consonants put together to make just one sound. And then you listen to each one and figure out how many sounds are in the word, and then you write the number of the sounds in each word to solve the puzzle. And then at the end, you get the code that goes to the final code to open the door. So this is the door that you would escape from. There's the lock for it. Okay, let's try the lock. And then you'd enter the code, and then it would tell you, if you get the code correctly, then it would tell you, congratulations, you've escaped the room. But anyways, there are lots of different things you can pick on or click on, and they open up and you can view them, but again, not everything is important. And so of course the students have to actually search around and see what there is and click on things and find things to figure out what can be opened and where the puzzles are and all that. So there's another example of a lock, and it says this lock requires a 5-digit number to open. So one of the puzzles at the end provides a 5-digit number, and that's what opens this lock. Okay, so this is an example of what we were using for research, and then I'll show you one more, and then I'll go on to describing more about digital escape rooms. So this is the one we're actually going to work on today, and this is a Coral Reef. This is my favorite because I think it's really immersive and super fun, and I'm excited to work on it with you. This one is not finished. This is just an example one, like I said, that we're going to work on today. But this is the Coral Reef. Oops. So you can see just by kind of looking around, we've got a squid here, little swordfish, got a boat, we've got a clownfish, a submerged car, a whale, and so it says, hello, my name is Blue. I don't know the passwords to the locks, but maybe the squid knows. So there's so many different things you can do with these. This one, okay, so this one was a video.
We're going to divide this dough in half, and we're going to use
just to show that you can put videos in there as well. And I think this one's a puzzle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this one's a puzzle. Match the comparative adjective with the correct picture. Okay, so you get the idea. Anyway, so this is the one we're going to work on today, but let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so, oops. All right, so what is an escape room? So Nicholson, 2015, defines an escape room as a live-action team-based game where players discover clues, they solve puzzles, and accomplish tasks in one or more rooms in order to accomplish a specific goal, which is usually to escape the room, in a limited amount of time. So how this is different from an educational escape room is solving the room is only part of the goal. The main goal in the room for an educational escape room is to learn whatever subject you're teaching, right? So in the rooms that I've showed you so far, the research room that I had, the goal of that room was to teach students phonemic awareness. So whether or not they escape the room, you know, the goal is actually to try to get them to solve all the puzzles at least, right? So that they're learning the material. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But so the person who kind of started all this at Washington State University was Dr. Joy Egbert. And so I kind of started working under her. We were doing a physical escape room. And then COVID hit and it shut it down. And then so we had to figure out a way to move it online. And that's how this came about. I found this program, seekbeak.com. And that's where you can upload 360-degree imagery and, you know, put different puzzles and locks and stuff in there and create your escape room. So basically, COVID forced us to be creative in a different way. So what can we use this for? Well, as I said before, the point of this is it's educational, right? So you can use it for just about anything that you want to teach, right? I mean, from science to reading to mathematics, like pretty much anything you teach about, this is like the sky's the limit, right? There's so much that you could do with a digital escape room. And there are so many different layouts, different themes, you know, different topics, just so many different combinations that you can do to make it exciting and engaging for students and relevant to what you're teaching. So let's move on. Okay, so to create the basic structure of the room, you first need a 360-degree image, or also known as an equirectangular image. Try saying that 10 times fast. Equirectangular. So those are terms that you can use to search online if you're looking for a 360 image. And like you saw in the room, the 360 image goes all the way around. So it's one that you can explore like you're inside of it at a single point and just sort of turning all the way around. That's a 360 image, right? And places where you can get those kind of images are in Shutterstock, Adobe, Commons.wikimedia, Flickr. You can find all kinds of free ones online. So they are available for free. If you Google, there's a lot of different places that you can find them for free online and just download them so that you can use them to upload to SeekBeak. Okay, so next one. So for the puzzles and locks, these are the programs that I used to make, to make the puzzles. My primary program was called learningapps.org. It's also free, which is really nice. And they have all kinds of activities there. Actually, I can show you. If you give me a second, I'll go there right now, actually. I love this site. This is one of my favorite. I use this for so many things. I use this in my teaching all the time. I'm just going to log in real quick. So you can see all the puzzles that I have. Okay, so I'll go to my stuff, and I have a bunch of different puzzles here that I've created. This is a closed puzzle. I've got matching pairs. I've got group assignments where, for example, if we take a look here, so it says put the jobs in the section of the things that they do. So, right, so this is a mechanic, so he goes up here. And this is for one of my classes that I'm teaching to students in Okinawa. This is a veterinarian, so it goes there, right? So you get the idea. And I made this puzzle, like you can just search on, like it allows you to search for images and upload them and puts them in there for you. It's so easy to use, and you can make an account for free. I highly recommend this if you don't have this yet. This is a great resource. So please check it out if you can, learningapps.org. I love it. So, okay, so let's go back here. The other one is flippity.com, and I'll show you, or sorry, that's incorrect. It's flippity.net. I don't know why it says .com. It's supposed to be .net. There we go. So flippity.net. Okay. And the option for the lock is under the scavenger hunt. So it shows you how to do it. It gives you the instructions. It even gives you a demo if you want to try out their demo. But basically, this is where you would make the locks that you would embed into the escape room that need to be unlocked to get out of the room, right? So, so flippity.net scavenger hunt. And then finally, well, I don't actually use that one. That was someone else's recommendation. If you have H5P, that could work, but I think that costs money. I don't use it, but if you can use it, or if your school has it, then absolutely you can embed activities from H5P, but for me, I don't do it because it costs money. I like to try things that are free. So, okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so then in the room, right, you need things that of interest that you can click on. Let's go back to my presentation here. So there are many things that you can embed into the room. They can be pictures, maps, movable GIFs, videos. You can embed audio recordings, which is really nice. Easter eggs, which are, just, little surprises in the room that are for fun. There's a lot of things. You can embed quizzes, and SeekPeek has actually their own quizzes that you can make on their site to put into there. And when you're in the room, you can create your own sounds like background music, which I've done before with some escape rooms. Some people like it, some don't. Basically, you just have a YouTube video on in the background playing a sound like a storm or something, depending on the theme or whatever, and then just share your sound. So you got to remember to share your sound if you're delivering this through Zoom. Anyway, so let's move on. Okay, so one of the most important things about creating an escape room is having a script for yourself. So when I was running my escape room as a study, I had a script that I could follow so I always knew what came next. So the escape room needs to have rules, and the students need to know what those rules are, and they need to have instructions for how to get through the room. So this one's really important because I noticed when we were first running the escape room with students, some of them didn't know how to use the technology, and we assume that they do because they're young, right? And we assume, oh, they know how to use it because they've grown up with technology, but that's not always true. Not all of them know how to use it. So it helps to let them try the room a little bit first, and then they go in and solve the puzzles. So giving instructions and giving kind of like a demo is really helpful. Another thing that's super helpful that makes the escape room immersive is to have a narrative or a story. So, for example, in my research escape room, the one that was a classroom, that story was that the students got locked in the classroom on accident during a snowstorm, and they had to escape before the snowstorm got worse and they wouldn't be able to get home. So, and I had like a little character helping to tell the story, and I assigned character roles. That's another one that's really important because it kind of gives the student a feeling like they're belonging to the story, right? So I gave them each a character role where they had something that they performed in the room. For example, one of them was responsible for keeping track of the time. So students would go turns in 5-minute increments using the room, like one student at a time. And they would take turns, and one student would be like the timekeeper. Another student would either be the like the archaeologist. They would collect clues and write them down, right? And they would keep track of where puzzles were. And another student was, you know, the leader or the adventurer, and I don't know. So like different roles that they can take on to feel like they're actually part of the story has been really helpful to keep them engaged. And of course, taking turns. So yeah, and the way that works with Zoom is, let's say we're in an escape room, right? Let's actually escape out of this real quick. So let's go back to the Coral Reef. So if I want to, so for example, in my research room, let's say I want the students to take turns. So I tell them, okay, each of you get 5 minutes, and I'm going to set my options on Zoom to automatically let students take the control. So to share the control, and so if you ask to request control as a student, then the control automatically goes to you. So that's how they would take turns, is they would end up taking over the screen control, and one at a time they would each get a turn being the person to move around and click on things and explore things. And when their 5 minutes were up, the next student would go. So and that's how we were able to do it over Zoom, because it's not something that all of them can be in at the same time. But taking turns actually worked really, really well. It gave them all, you know, a moment that they can participate. Whereas if they're all in at the same time, they may not all be participating. But if they took turns, they were definitely all participating at least at one point in time. So that was really nice. And so that worked out really well, them taking turns. This can also be done in person. So I know we're talking about doing it over Zoom, but this can also be done in a classroom. You know, once COVID is, you know, more of a thing of the past, and we get back into the classroom, if you have a computer, you can have students working in groups together at a computer to solve the room at the computer. So, I mean, that works too. So it can absolutely be done in a classroom in person. So it's flexible in that regard. So, okay, so now let's go back to our slides here. Okay, so that's it for the presentation, and this is one of the, if you want to look this up, this is State of the Escape Room Design and Facilities by Scott Nicholson, 2016. Excellent paper. I would recommend reading it. It has a lot of, he was kind of like the first person to talk about using the use of an escape room in kind of an educational setting. So, but his were physical escape rooms, they weren't digital. But anyways, so let's go ahead and move on to designing our escape room. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. And we're going to go back to our Coral Reef. And everybody can see this okay, right? Okay, excellent. So, and before I go into the Coral Reef, I kind of want to show you some of the other examples of 360 images that I've downloaded, or uploaded, I should say, for free into my account. Because there's so many, like I said, there's so many different themes you can do. And I have a whole bunch of them, and they're fun. So, like this one here, this one was kind of fun because the idea for this was that the students, they're like language learning students, well, anyways, that's, I'll get rid of that later. Anyways, so the students were in like a language class, and they decided to go on a field trip, and they decided to go up to this mountain, you know, and then hike down to go and camp, I guess, is the idea, is the story, the narrative. But at the top, the teacher says, well, you can't get down to camp without the GPS, but to find the GPS to get down to camp, you need to solve these puzzles and ask people questions, you know, in the target language, in English, to solve the puzzle to escape the mountain. So that was the idea for this one. So, you know, they could click on certain people, like, let's see, I can't remember if this one was. Oh, so this was just a puzzle. But like this one, I think I had a recording.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Okay, it was just, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if, you know, if you wanted to embed other things like clues that would help solve the puzzle, you could click on a, you know, they could click on a person and that person would say a clue, oh, okay, and then they would, you know, go and look for that clue. I think I put a lock down here. Yeah, so, and this was just another idea for like a language classroom. I mean, there are many different things you can escape. It doesn't have to be a physical room, right, with 4 walls. It could be anything. So yeah, so that was that one. And go back. So I have all kinds of stuff. This one here is if like you were in a teaching hospital and you wanted the students to learn how to use the equipment or test them on the equipment, you can see there's different things you can click on here. And this is just random stuff I put in there. They're not really going anywhere, but just to get an idea of, you know, the things that you can do. So this would be like for a teaching hospital type of thing. We got a spaceship, an abandoned house, a convenience store. We've got the forest with the cemetery. So let's see. So here's the beautiful forest. And it's just fun because you can explore all around and you can put things to click on just about anywhere. So, oops. All right. So let's actually start working on this. Okay, so I need to go back to SeekBeak. Sorry, I closed it out. Okay. Okay, so I guess while I'm here, I can show you other things. So there's a dining room. I have the apocalypse, a security room, a storage shed, the Coral Reef, the Spanish fort, just all kinds of fun stuff. And I find that if you have pictures of places that have more interesting things, like detailed things, it makes it more fun and easier to make items that they can click on and look at. Okay, so, all right, so let's go to our Coral Reef. I'm going to show you how to edit and put things in there. So these animals were not here originally. I embedded them in there, and because I made them points of interest, right? So to do that, let's start by doing that. So I'm going to go to edit. And sorry if you didn't catch the name of the program that I'm using. It's called, I'm going to put it in the chat, seekbeak.com. That is this platform here where you upload the 360 images and can put in all the things to click on and all that to make the escape room. It's called seekbeak.com. Okay, so now we're in the editing mode and you can see all the things that I've inserted. And let's just take a look at one of these and see what they have. So I think the starfish had the video, right? Actually, let's start from new. Let's just add a new one. We're gonna put a new one. We're just gonna do a point hotspot. because that just makes a single point on there that stays put. So maybe I'll put something right here in the background. Okay, so then I'll click on it to edit it. And there are many different types that you can do. So you can make it a URL. So like when they click on it, it opens up into a web page. You can make it open up to email. You can do an audio recording, an image. I'm not really sure what this is. I haven't done this one yet, but I don't think I've really needed it. Oh, just a phone number, I guess. And I'm not even sure what that one is. A snap is actually a link to a different room. So if you have, other rooms like I showed you in my gallery, you can put a link to another room and they can go into that room from this room, which is really cool. So you do that using the snap option. Forms are forms that you make in the SeekBeak program. Like I said before, they have forms where you can make your own quizzes in SeekBeak. And if you already have that created, then you can just create a link to it and make that accessible here. So, and then of course, embedded. I use this one the most because I like being able to have it, to click on it and then have it open up inside this window and the students be able to, work on the puzzle right there. I don't want them to have to leave the room. I want them to stay in the room to work on the puzzle. So I use the embed link a lot. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're just going to use the embed link. And to put one of these pictures in there for one of these animals, I go to icon. Now I have uploaded different animals already, and these are clip art, if you're familiar with that term. Clip art, right? So I just searched online for free clip art, and you want the kind that has a transparent background. You don't want it to have a white background because then it doesn't look like it, the animal belongs there. You want it to have a transparent background. So if you look for clip art that has a transparent background and then you upload it into your icons, then you have like a little library of your own icons. They have their own, but I don't really use those. I prefer to use the imagery because it makes more sense for this room. So I might use whatever this is. I think it was an octopus. It's pretty small right now. We'll make it bigger. But let's say I want to put in a puzzle, okay? So let me go back to my learning apps. And I'm going to go to my collection, go to my stuff. Or actually, I'll just use this. So I'm just going to grab the link. And you can use either one, play around with it. I find that often just using the regular link works just as well as using the embed link. So you could do either or depending on what program you're using. I'm going to stick that link in the embed area here. The options are, you can change the size. I just leave it at default because I don't care what size it is. Options. So this is where you change the size, I believe. There we go. Okay, so it's a fish swimming away. So here's where you can change the size. So I'm going to make it probably like that because it's a smaller fish. You can rotate it, right? It's pretty cool. Flip it around. All that kind of fun stuff. You can give it a shadow. You can make it, I believe, somewhat transparent. Anyways, we're not going to mess with that though. Let's see. You can add actions. I haven't done that yet. I think this is like, it can appear or disappear, those sorts of things. I haven't really done that. I haven't needed to do that. So let's see. So I'm just going to say accept. So I have my embed code in there. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need it to be named anything. And I'll go accept, and I'll save it. And now when I click on it, that puzzle will come up in the screen, and the student can work on that puzzle. And it's the same idea with the locks, although the locks are a little trickier if you're using the flippity.net. So if I want to embed a flippity.net one, oops, let's go to edit. So we'll change this. And remember correctly, you have to, it's in Excel, not Excel, but what's the Google, like, not Google, is it Sheets? That's what it, yeah, it's Sheets, right? Sheets.google.com. And so when you create one of these, you create copies of a specific sheet right here. So here's a template. And in order for you to be able to use it, so you can see this is one of the examples that they provide. These are the clues, these are the questions that they have to answer. You can provide a hint if you want to, and then you have the answer that needs to be entered into the lock to open the lock. So let's just change these. I'm gonna delete these because I don't need these. These are, like I said, these are just example questions. So how many tentacles does an octopus have? Okay, so that will be our question or clue. Over here, I'm going to say 8, right? Okay, simple enough. Let's go to options. All right, so this is the start text. You can change that. I don't usually provide a hint, but you can say the done text, you can say congratulations. You can also embed, like in one of them, I embedded a GIF that had people like celebrating, like, woo, congratulations, you escaped the room. So that's pretty cool. So you can put images and GIFs and stuff in the done text. And if you go to the instructions for flippity.net, they have an area that where like it has frequently asked questions. It tells you how to do that. So there's instructions for how to do that. So you can also provide a feedback email. So the email, like if you were doing something different, the results could be emailed to the teacher, but I'm not going to do that here. Okay, so then once you're done, oh, you can make it case sensitive, you can make it sequential, or you can randomize. But once you're done, then you have this link. But before you can use this link, you need to go to File and Publish to the web to make it public, so that it will show up in SageSpeak once you're done. So we'll just say publish. Are you sure you want to publish? Yes. And then now that's done. Okay, so then you just copy the link. We'll go back to this, and we'll put this in here. And accept. And save. And now when we click on it, there's the lock that we just made. How many tentacles does an octopus have? 8. Congratulations, you opened the lock. Yay, right? So, okay, so, and you can put anything here. So like, let's say if you're using this for multiple levels of locks, like let's say you're doing multiple locks, but they all produce a code to go to the final lock, then instead of saying congratulations here, you can provide a code, right? So if you go back here, wait, sorry, back to options. Instead of saying just congratulations, you can say the first number for the final lock is 2, or 2, right? And then let's say you have 4 locks like this, and each time they unlock one of these locks, it gives you like the second number for the final lock is 8. The third number for the final lock is 7, and the fourth number is 9. And now once they have that code, that's the code that opens the big final lock where they escape the room. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So there can be different levels of locks, which is really fun. Okay, so then that gets saved, and now that should be, now when we go back here, it should appear. So 8. Maybe it hasn't updated yet. But anyways, it should just go ahead and update at some point. But you get the idea. So that's how you embed locks and puzzles. And it's very simple, basic. You can in the puzzle or in the puzzles, yes. So in the puzzles, you can change the congratulations message here as well to provide the code that you need for the next thing, or the hint that you need for the next thing, depending on how you want to design your room, right? So for example, let's go ahead and edit this one. Let's say we want to make this one something that gives you so yeah, so let's say this is a puzzle that when they answer this puzzle, it gives them the code to one of the locks, and when they open that lock, it gives them another code to open the final lock that they all put together. I hope that's making sense. I'll draw a little diagram for that to show you later. But instead of saying just great, you found the right solution, right? At the end, you can say, in here, this is the feedback message, congrats. The code for the first, and you can do letters, the first letters for the final door are TH. All right, and maybe that's part of a word, or maybe it's just a combination of different letters. And then save the app, and then when they solve the puzzle, that's the message that comes up at the end to lead them to, so okay, so now they have that, and now they can put that into one of the locks. And when you look at these locks, I mean, it doesn't have to be a number. So let's say for this lock, H is the answer. So we'll say, what is, I don't know what we would ask for that. What 2 letters make a, yeah, I don't know how I'd say that. If I'm thinking phonemic awareness, make an unvoiced combination or something like that. Or, you know, it doesn't even have to be that kind of clue. You can say, please enter the 2 letters. Okay. And then that would open the lock. So I hope that this is, I hope I'm not confusing you all. Another thing I can show you too is an example of the escape room that we used for my student. So let's go back to that. So now you have an idea of how to make these, right? How to create the activities, you know, like using something like this, and the locks that go in there. The other thing to know is when you're making these activities, and I cannot stress this enough, this is really important. as fun as this is, the intent and the objective of these escape rooms is for the students to learn. So that's the first thing that you need to do before you even build an escape room, is decide, what do I want my students to learn? So if you have like a specific lesson, let's say, I don't know, let's say you're teaching phrasal verbs or something in your class, and you want the whole room to be, you know, about phrasal verbs, if you're teaching English. Right, so then it's all about, how do I get my students to learn that? Let me think of all the different activities, right? The activities are incredibly important. What activities can I use that the students will actually learn from? And that really is where I think the most time is taken in this escape room, because like embedding things, you know, looking for images doesn't really take a long time, but actually like making the part of the escape room that is the lesson is the longest part. And it should be, because it's about them learning, right? So it can be difficult sometimes to design these puzzles, because sometimes students figure out ways around it, like to solve it without having to actually learn anything. For example, like let's say they're moving things around and they don't know the answer. Well, they can just move things, or, you know, put things randomly, right? Mm-hmm. And then check it. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, let's try this, and just move it until they get it right, right? So you have to think about that, try to think a step ahead. How can I design these activities so students can't get around them and just focus on trying to get out of the room? They shouldn't be only focused on trying to get out of the room, although that's what they're going to do, unfortunately, in some aspects. But in some ways, they have to be forced to actually learn while they're doing it. And that's been the most challenging part for me as a researcher, is finding the puzzles that are going to actually force them to learn the material rather than just solving the puzzles. So okay, so where was I? What was the last thing I said? Because I kind of went off on a tangent there. Oh yeah, okay, so I wanted to show you, if we go back, the Escape the Classroom, because this one is totally done, very polished, ready to go. It has been edited so many times. It probably needs a few more iterations, but it's pretty well done. So in this room, there are 4 locks and 4 puzzles. And there's a puzzle that corresponds to each lock. So, for example, this puzzle here, let me find an easy one that I don't have to spend a lot of time on. So I can get
¿Viste que soy? No, soy responsable.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So this one is Phonemic Awareness, and this is talking about the vowel circle. And so they need to find the vowel sounds in the item that they're looking at and place it in the correct mouth shape that it makes, either smile, open, or a rounded sort of right shape. Okay, so goat is rounded, book rounded, smile, teeth is smile, apple is smile, rounded, smile, straw is open, ball is open. That's all there is. Okay, so let's check it. Okay, so then there's the code, right? So there's the code at the end of the puzzle. So they solve the puzzle, they get the code. Okay, but they don't know where all the locks are. They still have to explore the room and find all the locks. So if they find this puzzle, okay, now they have to keep track of that code. ZBFN. They gotta. That's why we have one of the students be the archaeologist who writes these down, right? So, so we've got that solved. Okay, so now we got to look for things that you can unlock. Is that something we can unlock? Okay, so this looks like a lock. but it requires a word to open it. So that's not the right lock because it requires a word. What about this one? It says this lock requires a combo of numbers and letters to open it. So it's not that lock. That's not the right one. Was it this one? And this one says this is a 5-digit number, so it's not that one. I think there's more. I think it's this one. Okay, this lock requires a combo of 4 letters to open it. Okay, so then VFN, right? Check it. Okay, there we go. So that worked. It says open. Your first number is 27. So we know then for the final lock, which is here, that our first number is 27. Now we have to find the other 6 numbers from the other locks. And yeah, anyways, so I think you guys get the idea. So we're right at an hour now. So I'm gonna go ahead and start taking questions because I know you guys are gonna have a lot of questions and there are probably some things that I've forgotten. So please, let's open it up for questions and yeah, let's go.
Claudia raised her hand. Yeah.
Okay.
Claudia's raising her hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Go, Claudia.
Hello, everybody. Hello, thank you. I think this is really useful. Is a way of motivating the students, right? Instead of being sitting down just looking at me. So question, what activities would you recommend as puzzles, right? Because you said that the students can cheat it in a way, right? So in your opinion, because you have done this many times, I guess, what activities do you suggest? I don't know, crosswords, matching pictures, I don't know.
Yeah, so I would say puzzles that, and for, okay, in all fairness, not all students are trying to cheat the system, because I've done many different groups, and I think maybe out of all the students that I had, maybe only 2 groups tried to really cheat the system, and that's because they had a very strong personality in their group that was the person who kind of directed them and said, we're going to do this, this is how we're going to do it. And they were like, because I just want to get through it, I just want to be done with the room, and which is unfortunate, but so in all fairness, not all of them wanted to cheat the system. So even if you have puzzles that can be technically cheated, know that not all students are looking to do that. In fact, a lot of times students really enjoy solving the puzzles because they're a mental challenge, right? So I would say that the best safeguard against that is to not make the puzzles too hard. Because if they're too hard, then they will be looking for ways to cheat the system. And obviously you don't want to make them too easy either, because then it'll be, you know, they'll solve it pretty instantly. But it needs to be, it needs to be that kind of like happy medium of both challenging and fun, right? Like right in there where you're like, okay, this is adequately challenging. I'm having fun because it's a challenge, but it's not too difficult that I'm being frustrated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I have seen it.
Yeah, so that definitely helps. But yeah, there's always going to be, even in the best puzzles, some students just they don't want to be there, so they will just find a way around it. Even like I've gone through many different types of puzzles to try and figure it out, and there are just specific students sometimes that you just can't, they don't care. So yeah, I guess just try to do your best.
No, I get it. I mean, even when we are doing face-to-face lessons, there is someone that doesn't want to be there, right? But I think this is a good way of engaging students, right? It's different. Yes. I think even though the technology could be tricky, but not that difficult, right? It's not something impossible, I believe. So yeah, and although it's a lot of work, you can save it, I guess, and you can use it with other levels. So I think it's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I would suggest, like, if you go back to learning apps here and you go to create an app, I would suggest kind of browsing through and looking at these are all the different types of puzzles you can do, and kind of try and think like a student, like if I were a bored student, how would I get around this, you know? And then, you know, there are different things that you can do with these puzzles. And so like just trying to like, you can try to outsmart, but don't, you know, in some cases it can be a waste of time because you can't always outsmart them.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
The last question that I have to ask, how do you like embed, or I don't know, put like a timer?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I believe that was an app called Clock Timer. Okay, so vclock.com. So we go down to wait, we're gonna go to timer, sorry, first. Timer first. And we're gonna go down here to embed. Oh, but yeah, you want to enter in the time before you go to embed. You want to enter in like how long you want it to be. That's another thing, you have to decide how long you want to give them to solve it. For my room, it was 45 minutes. You can make it an hour, you can make it 30 minutes, depending on how challenging your room is and how challenging the puzzles are. And then after you put in the time you want, then you go to embed. And then I take away the buttons, because if the buttons are there, then students could restart the button. So I click on this to remove the button, and then just copy the code. And oh yeah, so the timer is in a different application than the other things that you embed. So let me go back to the Coral Reef. So I'll show you how to do that in here. Actually, let's go back here. So because you can see the timer moves with the room, whereas the other things that you embed, they stay, kind of stuck in the wall of the room. So let's go to the Coral Reef and go to properties down here. And then it's an overlay. It's called an overlay. So I already have some uploaded. So you have to, I remember it's been a little while since I've been in here. So if I wanted to create an overlay, oh yeah, you go here. This is how you create the overlays, and that's where you would essentially put the embed code for the clock. Okay, so now I want to put the overlay in there. So then I would go to one of the ones I saved. And so it says overlay loaded, close that out, and then there it is. So you can play around with it a bit, but that is essentially how I did it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And looks like Miriam, you have a question?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One, would you say that this is recommendable for large groups of people or for smaller groups? How large would you apply this technique to? I mean, how many students in a group? That's the first question. And
Yeah,
the second, which is closely related, is how long would each of these activities last?
Okay, so let's see. So the first question was how many students at a time. So we suggested 3 to 4 students at a time. So if you were doing it on Zoom with an entire class, you could put them into breakout rooms, and they could easily do it through a breakout room, and having one person have it on their screen, and then doing the screen share option where one person goes at a time. So they could absolutely do it in breakout rooms. But yeah, generally 3 to 4, because you can't have it's just way too much to try to do an entire class in one screen. And then the activities, I mean, it's really about, I guess, your experience with your students' ability to solve various activities, I guess, and that's kind of how you would figure out how long it would take to solve each activity is your experience with your students, I guess, and their level and abilities.
Well, it will
just
depend on the level of the level. I mean, on the student as well, right?
Definitely, yeah, and it would depend
how
on
fast
their
they are.
knowledge. Yeah, it would depend on their prior knowledge and what they've learned up to that point. If you're using it like as a cold teaching thing, like you're just using it to introduce a totally new thing, it's going to take them longer. In the case of the Phonemic Awareness Escape Room, the students already learned phonemic awareness in class, and this was kind of a reinforcement of their learning. So it was like just another sort of game they could play to like really kind of solidify what they had already learned in like their lecture, basically. And they seem to really like it. But you can absolutely use it to just teach. If that's the case, I would recommend more resources within the room. For example, if we were going to go back to that phonemic awareness room, I would give them like maybe put posters on the wall that they could click on that actually gives them a reference that they could use to solve the puzzle. Go, oh, okay, here it is. This is what I can look at to, okay, and then they use that to put the answers in to solve the puzzle. So have resources in the room that they can use to learn the lesson and solve the puzzle if you're just teaching it straight out with no prior background.
So you have to rely a lot on previous knowledge as well, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Definitely, yeah, previous knowledge, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Any other questions?
No, I left my hand up.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to lower my hand. That's it.
Okay.
Carmen Ortega has a question. Profesora Carmen Ortega, there she is.
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
This is me. Okay, my name is Carmen. I teach here at USACH. I have to be really honest. I think I have never created an escape room, even though I know what it is because, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I participated in a real one, not a virtual one, but a real one in Santiago. And it was really, it was really exciting.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
It was very, very, very fun. But there are some things that I don't have very clear. I understand rules, instructions, and narrative, but what about the character roles? I don't get it very much. Can you please explain that, please?
Yeah, so we had groups of 3 to 4, right, students, and so I'm going to share the whiteboard so I can write these down because it makes it easier for me. Is there a whiteboard option? Oh, maybe I don't have this because I'm not the host. I don't know.
I can make you host. Give me just 1 second.
Oh, okay. Or co-host.
There you go.
Or whatever.
You're ready.
Oh, great.
You're all set.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Oh. Huh. Yeah, there's no whiteboard.
There isn't?
I don't see it.
Okay, what about now? Oh, I'm sorry. I have everything activated. I don't know what happened.
Let me try something else. I'm gonna stop the share and then start it again and see if that makes a difference.
Okay.
No, that's okay. So I'll just go back here and I'll go to a doc and just start a document. That'll work. Okay, so the roles that I had were for my class, for my Phonemic Awareness escape room, I had, and the two most important I think are the Timekeeper, and you can name this anything, like it doesn't have to be the Timekeeper, but this is the person that they keep a timer on their phone, a repeating timer, right, of 5 minutes. So then once those 5 minutes are up, they tell the next person to go. And that just gives them something to do to make them feel like they belong as part of like this group that's exploring a room. The other person was like, you can change the titles, but give them like, you could make the titles more exciting, but still give them like the same type of job, right? The next one was, I don't know, maybe I want to call it the artifact or the bookkeeper or something like that. I don't know. And they keep track of puzzles and clues, right? Okay. There we go. And maybe the third person would be, what was the third person in mine? Oh yeah, I had one that was like the explorer, right? The explorer, and they were the person who went first, right? So they went first in the room. Okay, and I also had the peacekeeper, and they were responsible for, oops, so they keep good vibes in the room. Okay, so, and these are fun, like obviously the first two have legitimate responsibilities, but I mean you could change the names. You don't have to necessarily make them exactly these things. You could actually make characters if you wanted to. You could say, I don't know, like John is the blah 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 and Mary is the, I don't know. So like maybe in the case of the Coral Reef, you could say she times the dives so they don't run out of air, right? Or sorry, John. And maybe Mary is the recovery diver and she records the clues. I don't know. So like different things that you can just make up, and it gives the things like a sense of belonging to it. Like I said, the first two roles I think are important because you as the teacher can't do that for everyone in like if you're doing a whole class, you can't keep track of their times for them, you can't keep track of their clues for them, they have to do that themselves. So I think those are the two non-negotiable type of roles. You can rename them, but then the last two, you could just think of anything. Like you could make up descriptions for them. You could say this person, you know, wears like an old-fashioned diving suit that's made of metal and they can only walk along the bottom, like stuff like that, right? Just silly things. The sky's the limit. Just any kind of thing that makes them feel like they're part of the story.
And fun, having fun.
Yeah.
They must have fun. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. Because after all, it is going into a room and going out of a room, trying to escape and this, that, and the other. It is a game. It is great fun, I think. So
yeah.
I like this kind of activity. I think it is very engaging for the students Yeah, very engaging.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I hope you'll get a chance to try it for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Were there any other questions? Let's see, how are we on time? We're doing pretty well. I think we've got like 15 minutes left. And if you had any other like questions, technical questions about the room or puzzles or locks, okay, looks like someone raised their hand. Oh, Maria. Maria, what's your question?
Hi there. Hello, Jen. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question regarding the age with which, or the how old the students you've worked with were, because I believe that this could work very well with children, but also with teenagers. So I'd like to know if you've had the possibility to work with adults, for instance.
I have not personally tried this with children. So I've only tried this with adults so far.
I see.
Yeah, so for this though, they were adults learning to teach children. So they are pre-service teachers, basically. So like a young 20-year-olds who are planning to be teachers themselves, but they're planning
undergraduate
to
students.
Yes, for undergraduates. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mostly undergraduates. I also had a graduate student group go through, and in fact, Stephanie, I don't know if she's still here, but she was part of one of the groups. And so, and that's how she got me to come to this thing. But yeah, so it was mostly undergrads that we did this with, at least our research so far.
I see. Okay. And have they had a chance to try this with their students?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because we've only sort of done it. It just sort of happened during the pandemic, so they haven't really had a traditional type of classroom yet.
I see. Okay.
So this is pretty new. But they all showed interest in it. They all wanted to design one for themselves. I would say not all, but certainly most. Some were not interested as much, but I would say probably 95% were interested in using it for their own. Because we asked them at the end, actually, we gave them like a post survey and asked them if it was something they would be interested in doing with their own students, and most of them said yes. So, yeah.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I saw another hand raised.
Profesora Carmen Ortega. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's me again.
Hello.
About the applications that you named at the beginning of the lecture. I just want to make clear, is the sigbeak.com is the web that you use for creating this type of activities. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, apart from sigbeak, when you use, for example, the logs, you use Flippity, but for creating the activities that make the codes, you use learningapps.org?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
So I opted to go that route, and I can show you how I did that. So if we go back here, and I have these already made, so let me go back to my stuff here. I made some locks in learningapps.org using, what program did I use? Oh yeah, here they are. Okay, so I used the quiz with text input. So if you go back to create an app, quiz with text input is down here. It's like the very last one. And I'll show you how to make that. So before I actually brought this up, I had to I made a picture. I took a picture of a lock and I put my own words in it, and I saved that as like a JPEG, and then I uploaded that picture onto here. So I'll show you. I know it's a little extra work. For me, that's what I wanted to do for my escape room, but you don't have to do it that way. You could definitely just use the Flippity ones. So So for, let's see. Okay, so this is what I did. So I went, well, I uploaded the image of a lock here. I don't remember in what folder I have those locks right now. But actually, let me just go into it. I'll go back here. So this is, like I said, the Quizly text in. All right, and all right, so you can see that I just uploaded this image. I just found an image of a lock online and I edited it by putting that sentence in there. This lock requires a 5-digit number. And then I just uploaded that image here. The answer to this lock is 37146. And then if they get it wrong, this is the message that pops up. It says, sorry, that's the wrong combo. And if they get it right, it says open, your second number for the final lock is 61. So that's all I did to make those locks. And then of course, save it. And then you have your number lock. I think it's 7146. Okay, so there we go. Open, your second number is 61. So I hope that helped. I hope that didn't confuse you more. It's just been a matter of kind of playing around with these. I know if you are short on time, the flippity.net might be easier for you. I've been really just enjoying kind of playing around with these things and kind of figuring out their capabilities. But if that's not something that you have the ability to do, like if you don't have the time, the flippity.net might be a better option. Yeah. So any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you all? What's that?
Well, thank you, Jen. This is Ana Maria. Thank you for your talk. It was very interesting, and the questions really were enriching. For the people who attended, please, before you leave, answer the little survey we have for you in the chat, because your feedback is very, very important for us, okay, for future talks. I don't know, Miriam, if you want to add.
Yeah. Yes, Jen, I would like to thank you very much. This was very entertaining and very interesting. And well, I really like that we have an audience that is moving around, a very faithful audience. And every time we offer the opportunity to expand our knowledge and to see other things and to see how things are done in other latitudes, shall we say. So thank you very, very, very much, Jen. And I hope that you had a good feedback from us as well. Thank you. And thank you all for having come and for joining us again. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, any other questions they want to ask, I just put my email in the chat. So feel free to email me and I'll try to answer your question as promptly as possible.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, you are going to receive a certification of your participation, yeah, with us, with our thanks, of course.
Oh, me or everyone else?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I love talking about this, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This was a great talk. We had a lot of fun, and we really hope to see you again in a couple of weeks, in a few weeks, not a couple, but a few, in our next activity. So thank you again, Jen. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Oh, and don't forget to answer the survey, okay? That's really important for us. And plus, you can give us more ideas on what we can do in the following activities. So that would be perfect for us as well. Okay?
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Miriam.
Voy a hacer la última en irme. I'm going to be the last because I'm finishing the recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care.
You too. Bye, Jen. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya. Bye.